Hi, this is Doug from Doug's Dog Training, and working with Gary. Originally, we were working with using the vibrating option on the Ecollar Technologies ET300, called the Mini Educator. And again, so this would be the receiver that the collar is attached to. And for Gary, because he has a lot of hair, I don't know if you can see him, but Gary's a mini Bernedoodle, and what we want to do, especially with the standard collar that comes with it, I like to get the accessory or the additional collar, so it's got a bungee, so it gives. So when you're working with a dog, naturally the neck gets a little bigger, and what happens is when you use the standard collar, it's very hard plastic, and you put it on tight, a couple of things happen. Either it gets too tight as you start working with them, which we don't want to make it that uncomfortable, but also what happens is when he cools down, what happens is the collar is adjusted for his normal size neck. So if you put it on after or before, and either during training or after you're done training, the collar tends to get either loose or too tight. So what's nice about the bungee is when you size it according to his neck, it gives and it keeps it tight enough so that we have constant contact if you're using the stimulation point or the shock point, whatever you want to call it. So if you're using the shock, we always want these electrodes to be touching the skin. So with this collar, it's nice because it gives and takes, it gives and tightens up as you're working with whatever dog you are. So it's not overly tight and it doesn't get too tight during the work. The other thing is it's got a quick clasp, which is really a nice option. So it's a lot easier than every time putting it on, finding the right hold, the right size. So let's just talk about how you switch this remote from vibrate to tone. So first of all, go back to what we're using. The T side is for tone or vibrate, depending if you have it set for tone or vibrate. In order to change it back, we have to make sure, so let me take off the safety feature of locking the electric part. So we always want to make sure, I don't know if you can see it, that it's the red dot or the red line is in the middle of the LCD screen. With this, it's typically to 0, but don't look so much at the 0. Just make sure that the red line is in the middle. Then what you do is you press in the back the on-off button, or the L. It says L on the bottom, on the button. Geez, I can't talk today. My apologies. So we want to press the L, and then right away we want to touch the T and hold it for briefly about a second or two, and you'll hear it change over. You'll see the screen change, and I believe it looks like 2 upside down L's, and you'll hear the remote, either you'll hear it go to tone or you'll feel the vibrate. So right now, just to test, I'm going to hit the T button. So the receiver is on, the remote is on. I'm going to press the T and you hear it set to tone. But if I wanted to set it to vibrate, or if it's on vibrate, I want to set it to tone, remember, press the L button in the back and then quickly turn or press the T button. So I press the L, press the T, and you hear the beep, it goes over. Now you can't hear it, but it's on vibrate. So to switch it back, I do the same thing. I hit the L button and the T, you hear it switch over, L, T, you hear the beep. I shut it off, now it'll be set to tone. You hear it. So all we've done is, instead of using the vibrate to condition them, remember the first part for 2 days was doing 5 reps, trying to get 2 different sessions in. Again, only 5 reps. And what we want to do is have him kind of like at the end of the leash, not paying attention. When we hit the button, he's going to hear the tone. And what we want him to do is to learn to shut it off, is to come to me. So I use my marker when he comes to me. And when I have my treat out, I'm pretty much wanting him to come in the pocket like that. I'm going to mark it yes, and then release my thumb so he gets the treat. So I'm going to put it on him. It's already pre-adjusted to his neck size. Come here, bud. Come. Good boy, bud. And again, remember, we want these two electrodes, whether you're using Vibrate or tone only, or you're using a combination, we want these two to be pretty much on this, having the ligament of his neck. We want it in the middle so that it stays there and it's comfortable. So when I'm going to back him up a little bit. Come on, bud. Good boy. Sit. Good. So I'm just going to step on the leash so he doesn't take off. So I pretty much put it on the side. I bring the collar around, I snap it in, and then his homeowners set it loose because we're not using the electric part or the stem part. So he'll hear the tone or the vibrate, depending on what you have it on. And all we're doing for the first 2 days, 5 repetitions, or 5 times you do this, and then you stop it, and then you can do another 5 later on in the day. So all we want him to do is, he's at the end of the leash, now he's going to follow me, no pressure on the leash, but I want him at the end. So I have my treat out, and this is the thing, is that he's very smart. So he already knows the process. The process is he's going to hear the tone, he's going to come right back to me. When you first start, the dog has no idea what they want to do, what they have to do. So they'll like either go to a default, or they'll try to scratch it, or they'll try to get away. The leash is to keep him from taking off on us, and we want to help him to come into us. So I hit tone, he hears it, I back up, I'm using leash pressure to get him to me, and when he gets here, yes, I mark it. Hopefully you can see it once he gets in the, so I press the button, he comes to me with help, yes, mark it, and he gets his treat. And then I'll give him a little break, 10, 20, 30 seconds, or whatever. What happens is dogs will pick it up quick that if they just stay here, they don't hear the tone or the vibrate. So however long it takes for him to kind of forget about it and get to the end of the leash. So again, I have my treat in my pocket. I hit the tone. Yes. I mark it when he comes in. I'm not sure if you can hear the tone from there. Probably not. Let me adjust that a little bit to bring it down. So again, I keep saying again too, that's another thing I use. Tone, bring him in, yes. So see how he was trying to go that way. I just want to use the leash with slight pressure to bring him into me, and just keep moving so that we get him to go to us. Again, I'm going to be quiet, hopefully you can hear the tone. I'm trying to order a tone box so that you actually can hear it. It's a box that every time the remote is pressed, you'll hear the beep, so you understand when I'm using it, how long I use it for, and then when I shut it off, but I don't have right now. So he's looking at me, I don't have a problem, but ultimately he's away. Tone, yes. I mark it when he gets to me, and he's where I want him. I don't want him way off to the right or to the left, so do what you gotta do. Again, so he's already smart, he's picked it up. I'll walk up and down, kind of get his mind off of it. Try to walk around, make some movement so he's not paying attention. Now he's tone, yes. I released it when I know he's coming. In the beginning, especially Kelly, you and your husband, just make sure you hold it. The tone stays on for a second and a half. So if he doesn't naturally come to you and you have to struggle, release the button and reset it until he gets in. Tone, yes. Good. And I'll do one more. Yes. Good. And again, I'm not using a command for this one. I just want to teach him when he feels it, if it's vibrate or tone, he hears it, I want him to immediately turn and come to me. At first, you have to help him. So you use pressure to get him to turn around, leash pressure. You're slightly pulling him to come to you, and then you back it up to use that natural prey drive to get him to come to the pocket. Hopefully that's clear. So you do that for 2 days, and if you don't feel 2 days is enough because he's really not understanding what to do, then add another day, another 5 sessions. Again, the goal is to try to get 2 different training, I can't think. So training pieces with only 5 reps. Then once you're done and it's clear that he understands, tone, yes. Then what we do is, again, we want them balanced. The goal of this condition is only to have our dogs so we're not freaking them out and we're clearly teaching him that there's 2 ways that he can shut that off. Once we've done that, called collar conditioning, then we can start adding it into, whether it's a punisher, whether it's a backup to the recall because he's not listening, then we can add that to our training program. So the second piece is to go to place. So you get your bed out. If you don't have a bed, you can use a crate. So you can teach him, again, we're just teaching him that when he hears the command and the tone, then we want him to go away. That's the second part of teaching him. I want to make sure you can see him. The second goal of teaching him how to shut that vibrate off or the tone. Break. Good boy, bud. So bring it out a little bit. On this one, I'm actually saying the command. So again, this is hopefully day 2. If you've done it properly, we've clearly shown him that if you hear the tone, which we're doing with Gary, is we want him to come to us. Now the second part is now teaching him to go away from us. With this one, I actually say the command. I'll say place, hit the tone immediately after saying place or bed. I use place, so I'm going to stick with place. But if you use a bed, just stay with your original command. Break. Good boy. So he's approximately a leash length away. If this is your first time using the collar and you haven't taught him a command to go into his crate or to a bed, then you got to work on that first, because he's going to really struggle and not understand the command. He understands place, like watch, I don't say anything. Place. Oh, he's going to embarrass me. Yes, good boy. So he already understands his place command. Or again, if you use bed or something else, break. So I'm about a leash length away. There's 2 ways. If you've taught him with hand, and that's how he clearly understands it, he doesn't understand just the verbal command like I showed you, then do that. But again, you're going to have to be able to multitask. So nope. So when I say place, I'm going to hit the tone, and as soon as he's on all 4 feet, I release it. I then use my marker or your clicker if you're using a clicker, and then I release the treat. So I'm reinforcing it. Place. Yes. Break. Good boy. Again, place. Yes. Break. You know, I'll give him a few minutes, a few seconds to think about it. Now I went a little further away, so the distance is a little bit more. But again, I want to help him if he doesn't understand. So if he's going that way or scratching or not listening, not paying attention or trying to get away, use my leash with slight pressure. And then I mark it again. So I say the command, then I hit the button, and then I release the button when all 4 feet are on. I mark it, and then I mark as yes for him. And then I'm going to release the primary reinforcer, which is our treat we're working on. So again, make it easy. I want him to be closer. Come on, bud. So the command, immediately following the tone, and I hold it till he gets on. If it takes longer than the 1.5 seconds, then I'm going to release the button and start again. Place. Yes, you saw him jump a little bit when he heard the tone, but he quickly picked up. Okay, he said place. That's great. That's a great thing. So again, I'll give him a little time to get through it, smell, whatever, bring him back closer to it. Place. Yes. Break. Yes, good boy. Last rep. Command to wherever he's going. If it's a crate and you use crate, say crate. Immediately following, hit the T button. Hold it until all 4 feet. If it's more than 1.5 seconds, because it resets after 1.5 seconds, then release the button and press again until he's got all 4 feet. Break. Come on. Maybe you can hear this one. I'll try to be quiet. Nope, nope. So he's going to his default. He's a smart dog. Like, I go there, I won't feel it. Again, we want to teach. We don't want him doing it on his own. Nope, nope. Good. Place. Yes. So what happened is it took a little over 1.5 seconds for him to get on the bed. If you heard it, shut down on its own. But because he was already in the forward movement of getting on it, I mean, I didn't have to reset. This time I'm just going to use the button to see if he's smart enough to know the place is there, we're close to it. I know what he wants. I hear it, I got to go away. So let's see. I'll get him closer. Set. Nope, set. Good. Yes, good boy. So you saw that. So he's understanding now. I would still stick with, if he's doing that with you, I'd still stick with the 2 days, 2 sessions. 2 sessions of 5 reps, no more than 5 reps, okay? Again, just to show you now, we've done enough reps in this session that he clearly knows the bed's out, I'm close to the bed. When I hear the tone, I go there, it goes away. Come on. So again, I don't want him going on his own. I'm just gonna bring back. And again, I don't like to give a command prior. I want it to be natural, but because he's kind of going back to the bed quick, I'm just gonna, so this is good. He's staying. I'm gonna hit the tone, if you can hear it. Yes, good boy, all right. All right, buddy, yeah, good boy. And for that, I ended. I'll give him more than 1 treat. Good boy, break. So hopefully that was clear. Just to rewind, the goal of what I just did was to teach him 2 different ways so he's balanced and understanding how to shut that tone off, which you can see the tone does affect them. So some dogs, the tone doesn't mean anything to them. Doesn't matter how many times you use it, it doesn't bother them. With Gary, his age, his breed, his genetics, it does affect them. So it's great that we can use that slight amount of pressure, the tone, versus having to use a electric stimulation on a high. And some dogs are like that. That tone means nothing to them. It doesn't bother them whatsoever. But Gary, it's great. So the goal again is just to get him to understand there's 2 ways to shut that off. One is to come to mommy or daddy right away, and second is to go away. Once we have those 2 done and it's clear and you know your dog's comfortable, then we move to using it. We'll just say, going back to his original issue that his mom brought up, was he when he hears her coming home, he jumps on a glass door, and obviously their concern is, 1, jumping on it and breaking the glass. And second of all, well, probably more of a priority is if he did break it, then that glass coming down could really hurt him, seriously hurt him. So if the tone is enough, and again, as I reminded him, you want to train through that. So the way you do that is you have your long line on him, maybe a 10-foot light leash. You're preparing him for it, you're practicing it. So mommy's car pulls up, he hears it pulling in the driveway or the garage, he's already knows she's coming. That's how smart dogs are. So you already have the leash on them, you're sitting someplace natural, and what I like to do is I like to teach, we call it a bomb-proof method, meaning no matter what distraction comes in, or no matter what transpires, he knows he's going to stay on that bed. And we've practiced that. So we've practiced it over and over so that it's clear to him and he understands that he's going to stay on that bed until the word free or break or Gary come or whatever. There's a release marker, and then he can be let off the bed. That's a lot of work though. You have to put in a lot of reps. Dogs just don't learn quickly. The other way is to correct them. So you stop that already learned behavior, and the learned behavior is to jump at the door and mom's home and he's going crazy, and then he's jumping on her. So I would correct them and then teach a new conditioned response. So it would be something, again, the leash is on, you're prepared for it, you've practiced it a few times, and now you're going to go reinforce this. So I would correct them, meaning the leash is on them, I would give them a slight leash correction. I'd hit the tone button and I'd say no, or even better, I'd say bed. So now you tell him to go back to his place area or his bed area, whatever your command is, and we're stopping that conditioned response. He's been doing it for months. Remember that saying I've said in many of my videos, you walk a mile into the woods, it's going to take you a mile out. Don't think that a couple of times practicing it that he's going to be cured of that. So we have to work. And dogs learn through consistent repetitions. It may be 2 weeks you got to work on it, maybe 1 week. The great thing about this tool is that you can shorten that time that he learns because it's a great negative marker or a punishment. Again, the way I would suggest doing it, whether he's barking at somebody and you're trying to stop the barking or jumping at the door, the leash is on, we've practiced it. So maybe mommy goes out for a quick ride, goes to shopping or something, she's going to be back in a half hour. Dad knows she's going to be coming home. He hears her pull up, he's got the leash in his hand, whatever. Whether Gary's laying on the floor by him or he's on his bed, the minute he hears that, he's going to perk up. So that's the time now for Daddy to make sure, hopefully he's already got the leash. So again, Gary will learn quick that if you start reaching for the leash, he knows he's going to get corrected. So ultimately, you probably want to, when you first start, have Kelly call you. Hey, I'm 2 minutes out. You kind of sit back in wherever the area is and that door is, and you already have the leash. There's no tension on the leash, it's loose. The second you see him perking up and he goes to get off the bed, it's a quick correction, nope. And as you're doing nope, or place, or whatever command you're going to do, or down, you're saying no, correction. As you do that, you're hitting the tone button. And as repetitions happen, he's going to learn that he can't do that, number one, because he doesn't, I don't know if the tone's going to be enough. The leash correction should be enough. So you're combining the leash correction, the tone, with whatever word you're going to use to stop him going. Again, whether you say place again so he gets back on his place bed or bed if you use that, or if you're going to come up with he's going to come back to you and sit and he can't go to mommy or the door until she gets in. And then the second part is, once you teach him not to do that, not to leave the bed, when you release him, he's probably going to jump on it. So the second thing is you got to teach him not to jump on people. So again, it goes right back to the next thing. If you got a great bed command, whether you release him and he goes running to her to kiss her and hug her or whatever he does, he likes to use his arms. So I'm not sure if he kind of hugs you. And then ultimately you want to say, I would say bed, and I'd be clear, I want you back to bed if that's what you're using, or I use place. So I'll say place, correction to correct it. I'm sorry, so I would correct them, meaning a leash correction. No! As I'm doing that, I'm pressing the tone. Once he stops, then I'd recommand him to the bed or place. Or if you're going to have him come by you and sit down, then do that. And again, the leash is to correct and then to help him get through that high anxiety, that big distraction of going to mommy and doing what he's always done, is to bring him back to where you want. Whether you're helping him back to the bed because he jumped quick, or you're having him sit on the side of you in a heel position or a down. That's what you practice. So you have to understand, it's not just a correction and stop it. You also have the issue of him jumping. So the place command or bed command is your savior. It should be worked on a lot. Distractions should be added. Again, your leash is on, so if somebody comes to the door and like the mailman, and he usually charges or he hears noise outside, it's a quick no, place, and he goes back to his bed. Maybe it's the kids running by with a toy, or the other dog, if you have another dog. So you work on those distractions, you slowly build up the highest distraction, which is we're trying to stop him going to the door and jumping on it. So you add these little parts of distraction, and you clearly show him what you want. One is you can't leave the bed. Two is if you do leave the bed and catch me off guard, you can't jump and you can't run to the door. So it all goes back to working a lot on your better place command, making it bomb-proof so no matter what happens, he understands you got to go there. In the meantime, if you're not doing it that way, you can always correct. And how do we correct? It's a leash correction with the verbal command you're going to use. So if you're recommanding them to, there's a slight hesitation of the command. So if you're correcting them for breaking the bed and going towards the door, it's a quick no, and then you're pressing the tone, because we're teaching the tone, and then you recommand them to what you want to do. So we're teaching, get rid of the old conditioned response, meaning through repetitions, doing it over and over, That's all he knows. Run towards the door, jump on it, wait for mommy to come in, then jump on mommy and kiss her and go crazy. And so we got to stop that, and then we got to teach a new condition response. And you have two options: either put him back to his place command if there's a bed, or a bed command, or maybe even if you got a crate in that area, you teach him to go into his crate until you release him. That's a little bit more difficult because it's harder to guide him into the crate when you're first working on it. That's why the bed's a great tool to use for your obedience training. And then teach that new condition response. If you teach in bed, just after the correction, and the correction with this remote, which is his tone, then you're teaching him to go back to bed, or you're teaching him to come back to dad and into a heel position. And that's where the leash helps you, because remember, he's so excited that it's going to be hard for him to learn. And my thought is that the leash correction is going to be more important to you than this, because the tone really, even though it definitely affects him, he may be in that so much of an excited stage that the tone's not going to mean anything. He might not even hear it. It all depends. Every dog's different. So hopefully that explains everything. So let's go back over. Hi, buddy. Let's go back over. So whenever you're using this, you want to make sure the remote and the receiver's on. To put the receiver on, the red little dot on the bottom of the remote touches the red dot on the receiver, and then you'll see it turn to green. You can't see in the sunlight, but once you put it on, it will blink green. So it's blinking green. I know the receiver's on. Then in order to put the remote on, I press the L button, which it says on and off, and after a lot of use, that white lettering will go away, but you always know it's the L button. You press it in. You'll see the red dot, the red light go on. You'll see the LCD screen go on, and then you just release the button. So you know the receiver is on, the remote's on. In order to make sure that you're doing this correctly, you want to make sure that the number on the LCD screen is at least a 1, no more than a 5. So we have it at 2. Hopefully you can see it, 2, and then I press the adjustment, I press it down and lock in that number. So no matter what happens, I'm not going to ever increase that, so that if I accidentally press these 2 buttons, I'm not shocking them. So I press it down. Now the red button goes on, the red light goes on, it shuts off, and then you see once it's done blinking, it's locked in. The way to test it is just turn it. You see it doesn't move at all, right? It stays at 2. Then what you do is you press the T button before you put the collar on them. And the receiver, you want to make sure if it's on tone or vibrate. It's on tone. But if it was on vibrate, in order to do that, you got to take the lock off. So in order to take it off, I press down, I hold it, the red light goes on, shuts off. Now I can turn it. So I want to bring the red line on the adjuster, and I want to make sure it's in the middle of that LCD screen. So to turn it back, if it was on vibrate, or if it's on vibrate and you want to turn it to tone, or if it's on tone you want to turn it to vibrate, you would press the L button in the back and then immediately press the T button, and it'll look something like this. Hopefully that picks up. So press the L, then the T. You see it readjust. Then in order to test it, I'll press the T button. Yep. You hear it vibrate. So I want it on T. Again, I want to make sure the red button, the red line is in the middle of the LCD screen. Again, don't pay attention to the number. Although it's usually 0, we want to make sure the red line is in the middle of the LCD screen. I press the L, then I press the T right immediately, L, T. So let me do that again, so you can see the light in the screen. Sorry, my big fingers are in the way. L, T. You hear it reset. It's on vibrate. I want to switch it to T. Red lines in the middle. I hit the L, then the T. You hear it reset. Now test it. See how it shuts off after a second and a half? Now I release it, do it again. That's the tone that he hears. So now I know I have my collar or receiver set to the tone. Buddy. Just adjusting his collar so I have it up high. Put the clasp on. Now I'll go back just to show you on, because we had a break in time, I want to make sure that he clearly understands to go to the bed. I'm close by. I got my remote in my left hand, leash in my left hand. My treat's already in my hand, properly held between my two fingers, thumb over it. Nope. Place. Yes. Break. Break. Come on. Good. Place. Yes. Good boy. So that's day 3 and 4. The first day and the second day, again, no more than 5 reps, or 5 times you do this, I want him to learn to come to me. So he's on his bed. That's his natural default, is no matter what, he typically either goes to a down or the bed. So I want to help him to learn that when he hears that, you're not on the bed, I want you to come to me. I normally wouldn't do this to condition him with the place out, but I just want to show you on how I work it. One is to help him with leash pressure. Again, I'm not yanking, just slight pressure pulling him, and I back up so he naturally knows to come into the pocket. So my treat's in this area. I don't give a command. Yes, good. So that's the first rep. So see how he goes back to it? Yes, good boy. Now the other one is day 3 and 4. Place. Yes, good boy. So again, I hopefully I've helped you out. I know I did a couple of stuttering and got lost a couple of times, and believe me, being on a camera and videotaping yourself is can get you to kind of have a brain poop and forget what you wanted to say or forget the word. It's important to condition your dog prior to using it for your training or your punisher. And we use the collar as a backup. We always, at least that's how I am as a trainer. I want to teach the dog first. And I know that the dog understands the verbal cue, not the body language helping him. So I don't ever want to use, if he doesn't understand heel on its own without helping him with the leash or lowering him, I want to work on it so that I can just stand there, say heel, and he gets right into it. Or I can stand there and say sit, not doing this, or a hand signal, or down doing that. I want to make sure the dog knows that command over and over and over until he gets it. And we've talked about how dogs learn, how many repetitions, and how to reduce the lowering or your body help. Same thing with the bed or place. So I'll show you, come on, break. Come on, buddy. So I just help him. So if I have to say place and do that, then I'm not ready to use the e-collar on tone as a backup. And when I say backup, what I'm saying is the dog clearly understands the verbal prompt or the verbal cue or the verbal command without any help, and he doesn't do it, then we use that as a backup. So technically, if I was to say place and he doesn't go to place, then I'll say no. I'll give him a second to think about it. So I want to use that verbal marker, the negative marker as no, and then use my backup on the tone and help him there so that we start using that as a backup. So I'm going to not let him go to place, so I'll show you how I would do it. So I would say place. He doesn't go to place, although he wants to go. I'd say no, and then I'd say place. Yes, good. And what I did was I used the tone. I said place, dogs doesn't look at me, doesn't do it. I say no, I give it a brief second, maybe 2, just to kind of, so he understands. And then I say the command again, place, hit the tone, and help him over. So now we start teaching them that a stubborn dog, and I've had quite a few dogs that are like that, like they know the command, but they're like, I'll do what I want, I'm not going to do it. And some of that is because of the relationship that's been established with your dog, that you're not always serious about it, that you don't always make them do it. So that's why this tool's kind of a nice backup as long as you're using it properly. What I find, and what I've seen and what I've actually done myself. And again, you know, I've learned through better trainers than me, and I've experienced a lot of things with great trainers and great competitors, gone to many seminars. I've had a couple of great mentors in my life that, you know, when we first start with a dog, especially if you're competing, we tend to get very anal and we want things perfect. And then what happens is, especially men, we have our ego. I know you know it, and you're not doing it, and you're being stubborn, and they tend to use this tool, and they start using it what it's not meant for. And it's almost like they're punishing the dog. So they crank up the level on the stimulation, and they start yelling, and it becomes personal. And the way you do is you're abusing your dog, and two, you're affecting the relationship you want with your dog. Because dogs are very, very smart, and when you have a great relationship with a dog, they normally, unless you have some genetic faults that the dog was just born with, that they're not a great learner, or they are slow at what they do. You have a dog when you have a great relationship that wants to please you. So when we make this fun and we use what we know science says works best, what we do is we establish a great relationship, and we tend to use although it might be a genetic fault, we use that against them and they don't even know it. So we accomplish a couple of things. We're not punishing the dog, we're not being hard on the dog, our ego doesn't start getting in the way, and the dog wants to please us. And you start seeing as time goes on, when you have play instituted, and I have a couple of videos up on how to play with your dog and how to play tug and how to teach them. You have a better relationship. The dog wants to please you, and we can make it fun, and we get more out of the dog, although we're doing what we want because it's an issue. You know, he won't sit in the house, or he's rushing the door, or he's barking out the window. So we use this science back where we're not getting what I just said, what we as men typically do. We start getting angry, we start taking it personal, our ego gets in the way, we start yelling and using a remote higher than it should be. And then not only are you abusing your dog, but you're creating a big rift in your relationship. And what happens is, typically dogs are going to get worse and worse. Or what happens is, and I've seen it, the dog just shuts down. Yes, he's going to do it because he doesn't want to get shocked. But what happens is, it's the ears are pinned back, the tail isn't carried happy, and it's like, okay, I'll do it, but you know, I'm only doing it because you're being mean to me. We don't want that, you know. And where Gary I call it a soft dog, meaning you don't have to yell, you don't have to be hard with him, you don't have to use high pressure or a hard correction, which is great for training a pet. We don't have to use these tools in a manner where some dogs are just born, they're very hard dogs. It's like, hey dude, you correct me, I'll bite you, you know. Or if I have to stop Gary from doing something with me because of my relationship with him, one, and second part is because he's a soft dog, I don't have to yell hard. I can just say a firm no, or again, raise my voice harder, or be very clear with the leash, you know, with leash pressure. I don't have to be hard. I don't have to give a hard correction. I don't have to use high level of stimulation on the e-collar. So that's a great part, but you have to separate what you have for a dog, its capabilities, and are they being stubborn, or are they just slow to learn? You know, and that's where a good trainer comes in and helps you through that, and is honest with you and doesn't hide it. So hopefully, I know I rambled on quite a bit. I just wanted to show you the conditioning of the e-collar prior to using it in our backup for our obedience. My thing is, I love using it as a backup on recall. So once we're all set and my dog understands to come when called, and I don't have to have a leash on him, and I know it's pretty much 99% of the time he's going to come when I call him, but there may be that moment he sees something, he smells something, he hears something, that distraction has never been gone through before, and it's like he's not hearing you because his mind's so set on that new distraction. That's our backup. You know, then I can use my e-collar, and I always have a guaranteed, well, nothing's guaranteed, but I always have great success in that recall training, so that no matter what transpires in his sight, sound, or hearing, I can get him to come to me. So I don't have to worry about him going into woods and getting lost. I don't have to worry about him running into a street, getting hit by a car, or I don't have to worry about him running after a baby animal and killing it. I'm not saying Gary would kill an animal, but dogs are predators, and when something is running away from them, their genetic predisposition is to chase it. And most dogs are going to bite it if they catch up to it. So I just want to be clear what we're doing on conditioning, why we're doing it, and then ultimately how we add it to our training program with our dogs, for our recall, for a backup, for doing an obedience command that he's not doing, although he knows to do it. And then lastly, using it as a punisher to stop behavior, because most behavior is a learned behavior. It's not a chemical induced behavior. What's the difference? Well, if I'm saying sit and he doesn't sit, or if he's running towards the door and I'm telling him to stop, that's a learned behavior. Over time, it becomes a conditioned behavior. If he's fearful and scared and releases his bowels, and I've had dogs do that. I just had a dog a couple of weeks ago with the test, and I didn't put a lot of pressure on it, but the dog, expelled its contents. That's fear. I typically don't use a punisher for that. I'll counter condition it, and I'll use other aspects of training to build confidence, to build a new conditioned response, to help him that he can't fight or flight, so he can't go towards it, to say get away from me, biting, barking, or he can't run away. So I'll use leash control. There's so many variables that you use, but I won't punish that kind of behavior. But I will use a punisher for disobedience, when I know the dog knows it because I've worked with him enough. And then that punisher tells him that, hey, I can't do that. Then the next step is to teach that new response, that new conditioned response. So instead of jumping at the door, he's got to stay on his bed, or he's going to go back to his bed, or he's going to lay at my feet, or he's going to sit at my feet, or he's going to go into I call it place 2, but you can teach the legs or middle or place or whatever you want to call it, where the dog goes in between my legs. I have control of my dog. The dog feels safer if you've taught it right, and I can see what's in front of me. That might be used for when you're walking and you got some, hate to say it, but there's some people out there with dogs that have no control of their dogs, and because they're a small dog and it's yapping and pulling on the leash, they think it's kind of cool. But when that dog is yapping and all of a sudden maybe they drop the leash by accident, it comes charging at my bigger dog, and my bigger dog just defends itself, then I'm the bad guy, although I had control. So if I have a place command, or a bed place command, or a legs command, or a middle command, that's a great option of my dog is under control, it's between my legs, I can see out there, I can protect my dog. I can ask that person, hey, get control of your dog, or whatever I got to do. So again, I've rambled on enough. Conditioning to e-collar, I'm giving you a quick way of doing it. 10 reps per day, no more than 5 reps per session. First couple of days is to come to me the minute the tone comes on. How I first started is to use my leash as I'm not saying anything, as I'm wanting to hit the tone button. I hit the tone button and I'm helping the dog to come to me. Most dogs, like Gary, after the second or third time, they know immediately when I'm working on that to come to me. So as soon as I get the dog into me, and how do I get that? One is a little bit of leash pressure to get the dog to turn to me, or help the dog to come to me. Then I'm backing up, so I'm using that natural desire to come to you. And then my treat's out, to come here, not out here, not run over there. Then I use my marker so the dog knows that, one, I hear it, I come, I turn, I come right there, then I get a treat. That's, again, I recommend 2 sessions a day, no more than 5 reps each session. Day 1 and day 2 do that, and then work the place command. So now we want to teach the dog, instead of coming to me, to go to the bed. That's where I use the command, and I will help with leash pressure at first, so the dog clearly understands when he hears that tone, which affects Gary, that he's still got to go to place. As soon as the dog is all 4 feet on, I release my button, the T button on the remote. I mark it yes, and then he gets a treat. Then I'll say break. I like to use break, not free. I get him off, give him a little break, let him walk around, let him sniff. Maybe it's 20 seconds, maybe it's a little less, maybe it's a little more. Then I'm about a leash length away. I say place, hit the tone button right away, the T button, he gets on, release, boom. Mark it, treat. If he can't go to place because the button, the tone kind of affected him too much, or he's not sure, then you use your leash, you release the button, because you'll hear it stop, because it's only got about a second and a half. Release the button and repress it, help him on, 4 feet are on, yes, boom, treat. Break, free, okay? All right, any questions, feel free to comment. I know this is a very long video. If you need any help, like I said, comment in the comment section. I'll get back to you. If you have my number, text me. And hit Gary, good boy. And please subscribe to my channel. I could really use people subscribing. And also, if you could like this video, or even if you just put an A in the comment, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, say bye. Let me just turn it around. All right, Gary, say bye to Mama. Say bye to Mama. It was a great day. Here you go, buddy. All right. Okay, bye, everybody. Have a great day.